Oh, what a
What a
bright
bright
time.
time.
It's the
It's the
right
right
time to
to
rock
rock
the
the
night
night away.
away.
Mrs. Norbury suddenly knows the
Dun,
tune.
dun, dun, dun.
Oh,
Jingle bell,
jingle bell
jingle
rock.
rock. Jingle
Jingle,
time,
jingle bell. Ooh,
I
we
don't know.
got choreography. I'm always on your left.
It's gonna mess it up.
So, hello and welcome to Remake Hot Take. Welcome to the new year. This is a podcast where we play studio executives pitching remake ideas of our favorite and new media. I'm Marriya Schwarz.
And I'm Brooke Rees, and this week we are doing the original Mean Girls.
The mother's Mean Girls, because all the trailers say not your mother's Mean Girls. So I guess this is the mother one, which I don't know. Are people mothers?
Are people
that have
yeah. In general, I
that
think in
have
order
children
to
that are
be
going
a
to see
mother.
that have children that are going to see the new version, but I don't know.
Yeah, that has been controversy because well, it's 2004. So I think you had to be about 5 to 10 years older than us to currently be a mother that has a kid that would even remotely be interested in this movie. But yeah, this was a classic. This was in my DVD rotation growing up for
I thought I
sure.
had a DVD, but I did not have a DVD copy, and
Mm.
that was really sad. I think watching it, it just became like iconic, like, if there was anything, someone would say Glen Coco and like,
Mm-hmm.
or for you, Glen Coco, and um that switch up when it's like this girl is a slut, don't trust her. And
Yeah.
then the fact that it was Regina George, maybe the biggest plot twist in cinema. Um, Sixth Sense, we all saw it
M. Night
coming. Regina
Shyamalan.
George. Regina George sees dead people.
M. Night Shyamalan is looking at this movie and he is taking fucking notes about
Hmm.
how to write a good twist. Yeah, I definitely did have a DVD. It was like, I don't know, everyone talks about how like physical media is dying nowadays, but it was in my little like file folder of DVDs. It's like I had the DVD like that were in the cabinet near the TV, and then I had ones that I would take on like road trips, and that was placed prominently next to like Harry Potter and like Shrek and stuff. So
It is a cult classic.
yeah, it's interesting how it's like I feel like it came out in 2004 and then for about like 6 years was just like a normal movie, and then from like 2010 to like 20, I don't know, 17 became like the memification of Mean Girls, and like that's when you would see like None for You, Gretchen Wieners like printed on a shirt that you get it
And
like
like October 3rd.
yeah, like October 3rd became like a national holiday. I feel like it took a little bit of time for it to reach its like cult status, at least in my mind. But we weren't really like on the internet before like 2010-ish. That's
I
like
definitely think it was like a Tumblr movie.
yeah, see, I was never in the Tumblr scene at all. I wasn't allowed to have like any social media. And then my first social media was Facebook, and I think I was like 16 or 17. I came to it pretty late. I know that you're like an internet queen. You were on Tumblr. You were like running Facebook fan pages with like millions of followers.
I mean, stick with me, kid, and you'll maybe make it out of here.
Yeah, truly.
I know you just came from Africa, but yeah, have you seen like the musical?
No.
Yeah. All I know about is like the TikTok videos. It's like, guess our Regina.
Yes.
My name is Regina George.
Yeah, I've seen only snippets exactly like that on TikTok. And I'm confused because from that alone, mostly they're like middle school or high school play performances. And I'm not trying to like rag on any of them, but I don't know if it's supposed to purposefully sound bad. But every time they go through, I'm like, I'm like, none of you sound like you should be a lead in the play. I'm like, who's the Regina? I don't know. I'm like, I hope that she has a small part in the play because
Well, that's also the thing is, and obviously the movie version, the new movie hasn't come out yet, at least when we're filming this. Um, but at least from all the trailers and from like the music, and I don't know if this is true for the musical itself, but it seems like Regina is like the main character,
yeah.
while the original movie, definitely Katie is the main character,
Hmm.
as annoying as she is, but she's definitely like the main, and it seems like all of the trailers have the my name is Regina George like underneath it, and like it like always ends with like get in loser and stuff. Like it just feels like she's the main character. And maybe that's just because it's like Renee Rapp, or
Hmm.
because of like the social media of like guess that Regina. So I don't know if that's actually true, but that's like I feel like it shifted.
Yeah, definitely. That's like everything that I'm seeing too online is people talking about that. And I think part of it is that like we've been divorced from like the true source of this media, which is the 2004 movie, and that like the 2010 to 2017 time period where Regina and I has become, more popular than Katie. I feel like there's also like a I don't know, kind of like people love the bad girl nowadays.
Mm.
Like I feel like we still liked Regina. Well, I don't know if we liked Regina. She was still like iconic and like Damien says it best, like she's gorgeous, so we like we love her aesthetic and we love her brains, but man, is she evil. But I feel like just like in the general population, everything that I see in people consuming media is like the like slay and cuntification of people where it's like it's cool to be like a bitch as long as you're like stylish and you're like smart like Regina. But yeah, I don't know, one big thing that I saw, which I like didn't really pick up on the second time watching either, is that everyone's saying that there are like numerous references to Regina being a closeted lesbian in the 2004 original movie. And that it
Oh,
like that they make like obvious jokes that like at that
I
time
did
are
not get that.
yeah, that are suggesting that she is a lesbian. And I was like, okay, I was like reading people's like think pieces on Twitter, and I was like, I guess I can kind of see where there like is some maybe merit to that because like she and Janice were these like, but I don't know, but it's like if we have to presume that Janice is at least bisexual for them to have had some sort of like, relationship in middle school, and then that's kind of why there was this falling out, is because like Janice isn't like closeted and Regina is, and she's harboring all this aggression. And then other people point to the fact that like her kind of storyline ends with her like taking all her aggression out in the form of like being a rugby player now, which is like a sport that I think is like often associated with like gay women, kind of like softball, and that Regina like her end happiness is landing or like all these women piling on top of her, and that's like her perfect moment, and that's why she's no longer like harboring all this aggression. So I was like, okay, maybe, but then I was like, maybe I just didn't pick up on this stuff because I was like 6 years old when I first watched it. But then I watched it again and I was like, I don't know, I don't get they kept saying that there were like obvious jokes and like obvious references towards it. I was like, I don't think it was that obvious
Yeah.
because I watched it again. But again, maybe it's like very much 2004 like closeted gay humor that I
Mm.
like don't even like know the jokes or references that it is supposed to have. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think she's potentially closeted and that's why she's like so hell bent on destroying Janice's life, or do you think she's just
Maybe.
a regular bitch?
Maybe. I mean, it's possible. And I think it's also maybe influenced because I know I've seen like interviews with Renee Rapp that's like, I was playing this as like flirting with Katie. So it
Hmm.
could also be like influenced by the current interpretations, but yeah, I don't know if I got that because she's like really in with like the dicks, in this movie, like so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you could like interpret it either way because people are saying that like, she doesn't really care about the men that she's sleeping with. Like she
Mhm,
kind of
mhm.
uses them less as like relationships where she would have like any sort of emotional connection, but she kind of uses them for like social status. And like I think that like is also part of her like closeted nature, if we are going to go that way, that or the most important thing to Regina is like not embracing her own sexuality, but it is being like a status symbol. And in order to do that, she has to have like the hottest guy in the school. And then she like dumps Aaron for like the next hottest guy in the school, Shane or whatever. So who knows? And that like part of that is that she then has like all this anger because she can't be like who she truly wants to be. And once we see her like get over that cycle and embrace women's sports, she's she's a better person. So yeah, I think you can read it either way, but if we're not reading it that way, yeah, she does seem very like boy obsessed and
Mhm.
she is clearly a sexually active teen.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I never like thought about that. I definitely was like Janice should have, I don't know, maybe like I felt like it was kind of queer baiting with Janice's
Mhm.
character a little bit. And then someone was like, um, I've seen Glee. I know that Lebanese means lesbian because I don't know if you watched Glee,
Mm-mm.
but there's like a Born This Way episode where they wear like t-shirts with like their labels on them or something, and Brittany makes Santana a shirt that says Lebanese because she thinks that's lesbian.
Mhm.
um and so someone was like, oh yeah, she's definitely still lesbian because she says she's Lebanese at the end. I do love Kevin G though. um
His whole rap performance. Wait, but do you think that joke comes from the fact that Janice says that she is Lebanese? Like, is
I
she
don't
is
know.
she the maker of that like
I
pop
don't know.
cultural like reference? Because I've always seen that people said that they were like the fan theory was that Regina thought that she was a lesbian because she was like at over at Regina's house and she was like, "Oh, what are you?" And she was like, "I'm Lebanese." And she got Lebanese
Oh,
confused with lesbian. And
maybe.
that's why she thought that. So, two different theories. We either have Regina just being blatantly homophobic and then
It's the chicken or the egg.
yeah, we're like, which came first? Was the Lebanese here first, or were you two Lebanese together? And one of you got scared. So, yeah, but I feel like Glee came out. When did Glee come out? I feel like at least a couple years after Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
like
So maybe
2007.
influenced. Yeah.
Who knows? It's beyond our scope. Maybe there was an original Lebanese woman. Maybe this goes back to like the 50s when they couldn't sleep in the same bed.
Yeah.
We have no idea. Um, but yeah, so you like Kevin G, you like his rap song. He's a mathlete that has a musical side to him.
Well, I think it's like he's, the whole idea is like to be like at the top of the food chain. Literally, if we take like the Africa animal imagery of high school and to like win high school. And like Kevin G is winning high school in his own league. Like he's not trying to be like the top of the school, but he's like unabashedly himself. Um, so I think that's fun. I also didn't realize like Miss Norbury, like I want to see what her income is because girl is overworked. Um, when she first comes in, she has like a dozen donuts, which I'm assuming she bought out of her own money for the first day for her homeroom. So, like, they don't pay for that. Like, she is doing that on her teacher and bartending salary, with her divorce. And then she's also the math teacher, and then she's also the piano accompaniment player for the talent show, and then she has to fill in for like a female positivity workshop, and like I just hope that she is being paid because
She's definitely
like
not.
we see little bits of other teachers teaching, but I am like semi-convinced that she is the only one who actually
I
teaches.
know. I didn't like put together that that was like the homeroom that they were in
That's what
because
I'm assuming.
yeah, because otherwise I was like, this is a plot hole because or Katie is taking like two different math classes. She's taking like one
Mhm.
for her year and then like the advanced 12th grade calculus. Because I was like, wait, because like Janice and Damien are in that like class when she first walks in, and then she like accidentally like knocks into Miss Norbury and spills the coffee over her. But then later she has the math class with only the seniors. So yeah, maybe
Also,
it is just a homeroom.
why, if you got coffee spilled on you, why would you take off your shirt to a white tank top that's also soaked?
Yeah, that was that was a misstep on her part.
I also did appreciate carpal tunnel representation.
Yeah.
I thought that was really important. As a budding disabled woman.
I'm on the verge of blossoming into my best disabled self.
I think it's kind of sad that like I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be as cool as like Gretchen and Katie and then I'm the principal.
Listen, I think Principal Duval, that's his name.
I
I
guess
think
so,
he's
yeah.
cool. He seems like empathetic. He definitely was like staring at Miss Norbury's tits, so like points
And they
deducted
dance at the
there.
end.
Yeah, but he has a little crush on her. He's excited to hear about a divorce.
Mm.
But yeah, that's okay. You know, we all have to be someone in the Mean Girls cast. And Principal Duval and his carpal tunnel is also an icon. Oh, something that I noticed on this rewatch is that Janice Ian was the one that choreographed the Jingle Bell Rock scene. I never
Mhm.
noticed that before. I thought that was just another interesting like tidbit that is, you know, showing how much Regina and Janice were involved in their friendship, and then this group
Aren't
kind of
people
took off.
aren't people tired of this fucking dance though, if it's been all the way since middle school?
At least like fifth grade. Yeah, probably tired of the dance, but I think they got boobs and butts. So
So it
it
just
just
like
became more and more interesting each year. And the
mhm.
plastic surgery, you know, every year they were looking at different faces and different tits. So
That's true.
it kind of didn't matter. But yeah, I wanted to talk about too, how how evil do you think Janice is compared to Regina? Because they're both like evil, I think. And Janice at least is like, well, she literally like says that, you know, Regina and I at least like know that we're assholes, but like you pretend to be this sweet innocent person and you're an asshole too. And she definitely like fesses up to it a little bit at the end when she, you know, does the like trust fall into everyone, and she like reveals all the hidden plans that they had to ruin Regina's life. But I feel like she like doesn't really like ever apologize to Katie in any way, and like
Mm.
I feel like she is as evil in her own separate path. What do you think?
Well, that's also the thing is like they're like, we are your friends, but it's like, are you really each
Mm-hmm.
other's friends? Like, I mean, first off, I would never like, I would be so pissed if someone was like, oh, I'll show you where your
Yeah.
class is, and then they make me skip class. Like, no. Like perfect attendance record who? Um, and like it's like they are somewhat nice, and I guess like to Janice, like especially from like her artwork, you can tell that she does care about like
Mm-hmm.
their trio. But otherwise, it's like we're all using each other in
Yeah.
certain ways.
They're all using each other. And one immediate issue that I have with Janice is that she refuses to call Katie Katie. She's like, I'm just gonna call you Caddy. And
Mm.
I was like, damn, girl, we're not even respecting like her name. And like even Regina calls her Katie.
Mm.
I was like, what's up with that, Janice? But yeah, it's true. Like, I feel like everyone in that school is using each other. And it very much like highlights that during the kind of like climax scene of the burn book being spread everywhere. And then the girls having to do like an intense day of, of therapy with each other, which I love how like they didn't call it any professionals. Like I'm pretty like there was
Well,
not
that's what I'm
one single
saying.
school psychologist on
Miss
site.
Norbury is so underpaid. It's not even funny.
They were like, Mr. Margaret, yeah, we don't like legally have a school counselor on the premises. So I'm gonna need you to get your like box of Dunkin' Donuts, get your like mathletes in here and just solve everything that you see
Well,
happening.
it's like she wasn't even the only woman.
No.
It's like you are the nearest adult tits. And so you will lead. Like if that secretary was like an inch closer,
It would
she
have
would
been
have been.
her. Yeah. It's so funny. I was just like, wow, not a single professional on board here, but I like to think that like maybe she was using some lessons that she had learned in like a marriage counselor that like clearly failed because she's gonna get divorced because it doesn't seem like she's been to therapy either. But she was like, you know what the best way to work out like all these toxic relationships is? She's like, trust falls, babe. It's like
So
the company retreat. All she could think of were trust falls. They were like 2 minutes away from like walking across like a bed of hot coals.
yeah. Well, I think the marriage counselor, maybe their techniques didn't work on a one-on-one. Raise your hand if you've been personally victimized by your husband. Like it doesn't work as well in an intimate setting.
Yeah, a minimum of 50 girls.
Hmm. It did make me feel a little self-conscious about like I love seeing teachers outside of the classroom. It's like seeing a dog on their hind legs, and I was like, I feel awkward going to the grocery store.
Gotta
But
wear a
once again,
disguise.
Katie only had to start high school because her mom got a professor job at a university. So once again, being a professor ruins someone's life.
No, no. It's gonna ruin someone's life, either the professor or their family members.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh.
oh, I think that like there's a lot of humor that is very like early 2000s in this movie, and I'm interested to see what the new version of Mean Girls the musical is going to do with that. um and not to say that like any of that is necessarily bad. I feel like we've come a long way, and you know a lot of the jokes are kind of about like slut shaming and stuff like that, which I feel like as a society we've almost like regained the word like we've taken back the word slut and like we've like turned it on its head, and it's not like as bad as it used to be, but
Well,
there
what's really interesting about slut, and this is getting into like a hole, but the fact that like it's just like men are allowed to have lust, and then the word is literally the word lust in a different order because we're not allowed to lust for like sexual fantasies or sexual intimacy. It becomes slut, which is I think is just really fascinating. But I do think hopefully like the R word is taken out of Regina's vocabulary. Um because that was very prominent.
yeah. And well, I guess it's interesting, right? Because like Regina is a woman that she's this evil character, but she does have a lot of her own like sexual agency, right? Like we see
Mhm.
her and she does seem to be kind of like the instigator of all these sexual encounters, and she's kind of the one that chooses which guy she's going to be with and when they're going to have sex and when they're going to be with each other. So that is interesting, and we see her as like an evil character. But what I was gonna say about the like 2004 humor, you know, like the biggest part of the plot is that they're like gonna make Regina fat. And I
Mm.
just think it's so funny how like how niche like early 2000s that is, because like I remember even thinking like when Rachel McAdams like as Regina had gone to that dress store and she like couldn't even fit in a size like 5 or whatever it was. I remember being like, oh yeah, she does have a sizable butt now. As like a 6-year-old, I was like, dang, those protein bar things like really did a number on her. And I feel like that's just like not something that we would ever even like conceive as being remotely like overweight or having her like hot bod, as they call it, even remotely be destroyed. So I'm interested to see like what they do with that in a new take from a 2020s perspective of that, because I just feel like the like super skinniness of it all is like very early 2000s versus where we are now is like a culture. Not to say that any of it's like bad or anything. I think that back then like it's still funny that this was how they were going to take down this girl whose entire personality is like based around her looks. I think that is still funny.
But also
Yeah.
now it's like also I think our ideal body type has also somewhat shifted, where it's like everyone's
Definitely.
trying to get like the butt, you know?
Yeah. Yep. And I was thinking about like Love Actually too, which is another like early 2000s film. And it's like the one secretary of the prime minister, like that couple. She's like she is like the ideal body type now, which I think is something that like constantly changes, right? And we see that throughout all of history. But I think that the time period in which our ideal body sizes and shapes have changed has just become like a little bit more accelerated with like trends and with social media, the internet taking over, with like the introduction of the Kardashians in like 200 years is going to be like a milestone moment when looking back at like 2010s. And we see even like the Kardashians trying to like stay with the trends, and people are talking about how like they got rid of their like fillers, or they got rid of their like BBLs and stuff like that, and seeing even their bodies change is like the first warning signs of an upcoming trend back towards super skinniness as the ideal. So I thought that was something that was interesting. Oh, real quick, I was like, I don't know, like, do you think that the burn book would have even been something that like the principal would give a shit about had it not been like published? I think and then like the rumors about Coach Carr and stuff, because when they bring it in and she shows him like this book and she was like, I can't believe that like someone would write all these mean things. Is that something that like the principal would take action on? Because it's like someone's diary. I was like, I don't get why this would ever be like a punishable offense.
Well, I think she also, maybe it's like a legal thing because she like found it, I think, in like the girls' bathroom or
Oh
something.
yeah.
So maybe it's like found on school property or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Do you think people actually did that, like in high school, that they would keep like a burn book or something like that?
I think so, but I think most people would like write on yearbooks and stuff. I remember like Reddit posts of people who are like, yeah, I just like looked at my grandma's like 1937 yearbook, and it was like she had written next to people's like names like bitch, stole my boyfriend, like
But
stuff
yeah,
like
I mean,
that.
they went the extra mile. Like they're like getting out the glue sticks, like it's becoming a
Yeah.
DIY arts and
I
crafts.
know. I
They
was like,
really
oh
did
my
not have to go
God.
that hard.
I was like, Regina loves scrapbooking. Like, let her have her hobby.
Also, like, I feel like their pictures were like unreasonably large for that burn book.
Yeah. Where were they getting them? Well, I guess like printed photos were much more common in the early
Mhm.
2000s.
Well, I think they were just cutting out of the yearbook, and I feel like those are pretty tiny
Yeah,
compared to.
the students of whatever high school they went to just had like jumbo yearbooks printed the year before. And they were like, you know what we could do with all these?
I
But
do wish, however, that, that scene where she's like getting out the yearbook or the burn book and she's like she do not trust her, and but I wish we also like, so we get that iconic scene of her sticking in her own picture, but I also wish we got the follow-up scene of like her having to scan the book and fit it into the printer and
she's in the copy room.
yeah.
Regina got to
Paper
school.
jam.
got to school at like 5 a.m. that day. She's like, the art teacher's like, what, can I help you with something? She's like, mind your own business.
Okay, so why did we like Aaron? Because I couldn't find like a lot of he's bad at math. He like thinks that the swim team, like he thinks that the swim team club would reasonably be in the projection room. Like he's
Wait. I
not a
have
winner.
I have an explanation for that. So sometimes I was on the swim team for 4 years in high school, I think all 4 years. And there were sometimes when we would have before practice, like we called them like land workouts. So you didn't want to like just work out the muscles that you would use like when you're swimming. We would do like different like just basic gym workouts with like a yoga mat and stuff. So I'm gonna give him +1 point for just maybe assuming that that it was a land workout day. But also to his credit, if I saw a sign on there, like I also wouldn't question it. I feel like I'm very gullible. I would be like, okay. I'd be like, that's fine. I'd probably like text a few other people on the swim team to confirm, but I would make my way promptly up to the projection room to see what practice is all about. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's just hot.
Well, it's just it's like the first guy he sees who asks her for a pencil, and that's like she's like, that is the one.
But you have to remember that she's homeschooled. So
Okay,
like
that's what I was also watching this, and I was like, I was also this clueless in high school, and I was there all K through 12. I was like, was I homeschooled? Because I don't know anything about anything.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. And also I feel like maybe cliques are not that intense. I don't know. I don't know what it actually is.
It's honestly like a shockingly similar homeschooled storyline as like High School Musical. Like if Katie had just had the chance to be at like a ski resort on New Year's Eve, and maybe she liked the karaoke machine, she
Was
would have a
Gabriella
different.
homeschooled?
I think so, or she was like
Was
moving
she?
to a
I
new
thought she just
school.
moved.
She moved to a new school, and then I think
I feel like
Vanessa
she had met
Hudgens.
people before.
She had met, other than just like the African wildlife.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that like Vanessa Hudgens was homeschooled until she like did the production of High School Musical. So I think that's what she was like building into to Gabriella's character. But yeah, I think that Aaron Samuels, I don't know, he was a cutie. And I think that this movie is very much prioritizing looks over like mental function and ability. And honestly, like out of all of the guys that we are introduced to, I feel like him and Kevin G are kind of fighting for like top spot there.
And Principal Duval.
And Principal, yes, when he takes off his like shirt and he's in his little like white tank top, I'm like, you could carpal my tunnel anytime you want. Principal Duval.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not introduced to a lot of great men here. It seems like it's a little bit of slim pickings at this school. So I personally am okay with Aaron Samuels being the one that she wants to pursue. I love when Regina's like, yeah, he's not that great of a guy. Like he only cares about his family and his mom and spending time with them and his friends, and he's disgusting.
I just forgot that Georgina had like side bangs kind of. That was just
Yeah.
something that I forgot about as a culture. And it feels like I feel like everyone else's hair aged well except for hers, which I think is a little bit ironic.
I feel like side bangs are eventually coming back. They're due for a renaissance. So I'm predicting now side bangs are going to be the hot trend of like 2026. We've like already adopted all of the early 2000s fashion again. It's only like a matter of moments, honestly. But yeah, I love how dumb everyone is. Like Regina, like master manipulator, absolutely would do well. She could plan and win a war. but she has zero concept of like math, of like basic food knowledge, food science, what a carb is.
Well, when Janice was like, "This is how you take down a dictator," I was like, she should be like in the SEALs, like the Navy SEALs is calling her out. She's in the mission room.
She did not go to college. She went straight to the fucking CIA.
Well, also, semi related to the military, I was surprised that Janice says there are the ROTC guys instead of ROTC. Did anyone say ROTC?
I didn't even catch that. No, we said ROTC.
Right?
Maybe she's just trying to be unique.
Mhm.
Everyone's like, shut up, Janice, stop trying to make ROTC a thing.
I still don't think that she was like a very good friend. I feel like Damien's a really good friend.
I don't know. I feel like Damien is like kind of Janice's minion.
Well, it's
And
like, I mean, I think that like I love that part where he's like driving in the car and like he doesn't really care about like the drama or whatever that Janice and Katie are having. But then the second that she like is like, "Why are you so obsessed with me?" He's like, "You did not," and he stops the car because fucking curfew doesn't even matter anymore.
yeah.
And I think he is like a true friend and he loans like the pink shirt and all of that kind of stuff. I feel like he's much more loyal and he's willing to do all of these different things. I mean, like Janice goes through and like cuts out Regina's shirt, but other than that, like there's not really much that she does that actually has consequences. Like Damien, like he says that he wants to be prom king because being like part of like the social committee or something is a huge deal for him, and then he's willing to like sabotage it and put in people's names and stuff like that, which I think is a big deal. But Janice like doesn't really do all that much to like help the cause or whatever. And again, I would like not trust friends that make me ditch class and are not like have my best interest at heart. I don't know. Maybe if there was like, you know, didn't even seem like Katie was invited to their Halloween movie night, you know?
I don't think she was. They sent her out on the mission. And that was
Hmm.
my point earlier. I think that Janice is like even more evil because even though she says that she knows that she's an asshole and that she owns up to it, I think she very much is not owning up to the fact that like she's worse than Regina in a lot of ways, because Regina was like never pretending to really be a true friend to Katie. You kind of like knew what you were getting with her. But Janice like used and manipulated Katie in a way that was even worse, because I feel like they were never true friends. Like from the very beginning, it was all about this plot. And then Janice kind of like realizes the monster that she creates, and now the monster is too big. She can't take it back.
Well, it's
But
also like with the art show, it's like, all right, to invite someone to your art show, you already have to kind of be friends. And I didn't really see that friendship form,
yeah,
but maybe that'll be tackled in the new one. I don't know.
I think they would have to like, if they want to explore a deeper friendship and then like betrayal of Katie with Damien and Janice, I think they would have to show more like scenes of just the three of them, like
Mm.
doing non-Regina destruction related activities. But yeah, it didn't like build it up enough for me that I was like, well, yeah, Katie's being like a bitch, but that's what you wanted her to be. And also like you didn't do anything to like help her flourish in this environment. You like actively contributed to her downfall.
Yeah.
All right, was there any other things that jumped out to you before we move into the remakes?
No, man.
Okay. All right. This one is going to be a very dumb remake, but stick with me. So you know how like a lot of the themes in this movie are obviously like cliques in high school, manipulation, the like lengths that girls will go to. But like another prominent theme is like math, since Katie is a math genius and we have the mathletes. So sticking with that theme, instead of mean girls, what if it was mean, median, and mode girls? And this movie, it explores, you know, the same stuff, but it's just a little bit less on the girlhood manipulation and and the cliques of high school, and just a lot more math. And just a lot of math. So like, we have Regina and the plastics, they're kind of in the background. And then we have Kevin G and the mathletes. They are now the main characters. And it's a testament to women in STEM. And Katie becomes a math hero. And they not only win like regionals, but they go on to the national level as well. So that's Mean, Median, and Mode Girls.
That's good. And I feel like I was thinking about like what is the clique in the mathletes universe, and they're like, why do you always carry around that statistics textbook? And they're like, it's not just a statistics textbook. It's where we printed out all of everyone's pictures and written mean things about them.
I love it. They're like, this is not the SPSS manual. This is the burn book. So yeah, that's one one remake idea. And then the next one is, if Disney were to make this movie, I think that it would be, unthinkable that a white woman is coming from Africa. But I think if we had, a Color of Friendship, another DCOM original movie that I somehow bring up multiple times on this podcast. If we had a Color of Friendship crossover with Mean Girls, and it's like, we hit it hard right out of the bat with Karen being like, if you're from Africa, why are you white? And then it's actually like the powerful story of friendship between Katie, a white girl from Africa, and then she like actually makes friends with the Black people of this school instead of like immediately being after her first jumbo, it's pretty much over from there. But this one really explores that relationship. And then Disney, of course, would be producing this, so there would be no swear words and absolutely no tits or ass. This is a clean cut version. So yeah, another updated just version of Mean Girls meets The Color of Friendship. And then, like we were saying earlier, another idea is that, the burn book, it's very 2004 physical media, taking pictures, cutting them out, scrapbooking, gluing them down. I feel like a lot of schools don't even, or a lot of people don't even like get the physical yearbooks anymore. So if we were to look at Mean Girls in like a 2024 lens, and maybe they'll do this with the remake coming out in just a couple days, what would like a digital burn book look like? And in my mind, I think it's just like one big like Google Doc that
I was thinking like a Finsta.
A Finsta where they could post stuff, but I just like the idea of it being something as pathetic as like a Google PowerPoint presentation, and they all like log in at the same time because they need to all have access to it.
They're all Canva girlies.
And you just see like their little like circles up at the top letting them know that like each other is on the doc. And then they just post stuff there. So
and Regina just shares with Principal Duval
at
school.edu.
Yeah. It's like, would you like this person to have viewing only access or editing access? And then he's like, holy shit, we have like not only do we have an ethics violation, this goes against the school's media policy for sure.
I'm gonna find anonymous kangaroo
at hotmail.com. We're gonna bring them to justice. So I like that. And then the last one, I think that Miss Norbury should have just actually been selling drugs. And then I want her to like, I know that you kind of are in favor of her because you're pro teacher and you know how hard work she is, but I think that we busted Coach Carr. I think that Miss Norbury is also accurate. And the police come in, she's has a big drug bust, but it then is revealed that Katie Heron was actually an undercover cop the entire time. And she is a 35-year-old woman who
was actually named Katie.
Yeah, they were like, wait. They were like, we can't use her real name. What would someone from Africa have a name like? And they were like, what if we just did it with a CAD? And they were like, that's brilliant. So yeah, Katie, spelled Katie. She works for the DEA, and she knew that some shit was going down at this high school, and she finally brings Miss Norbury to justice. So
Well, I like to think that Miss Norbury also knows her students and knows how dumb they are, and so she's just selling little bags of flour, and they have no idea.
yeah, I like to think that it's meth because she's the math teacher, and I feel
Oh,
like the crossover
mathletes.
there, yeah, the mathletes, they are not going to competitions. They are going to alleyways, and they are actually her bodyguards for like the competing drug lords in the area. It's more of like a distribution process than like a math competition per se. So it's more going out, hitting the streets, reporting back to her, and I like to think that it's like Breaking Bad meets 21 Jump Street. I just think that she should actually deal drugs. Yeah. What about you? What are your remakes?
First off, I wanted a docu-series into the bus driver. Because something is going on.
He is an
Like
alcoholic.
like I could understand maybe like the first time, and some part of it is like the responsibility of the pedestrians. But at like that time where Regina and Katie are talking, she's like standing still for quite a while. Like she's not walking into anything. And then like you would think, okay, after we hit Regina George, maybe that's like a life-changing moment. Maybe this is like, okay, we need help now. But then with the little junior plastics, another incident. And I do like to think that it's the same bus driver every time on a mission. So I just want a deep dive into what is going on in that situation. Because at some point, I think he's targeting. Like I think I don't know, maybe on Miss Norbury's drugs is a potential possibility, but at some point like it's not even like a slow down. Like it's just like they're in my way. Like if you presented the trolley problem to this bus driver, he would be like, okay, what is maximum damage?
He's like, the only problem I see is that I can't hit them all. He was
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna loop back around and get the other one on the track.
And
But
we don't
yeah.
hear about like everyone's like Katie pushed Regina or whatever, but no one's talking about like the bus driver was
Yeah.
fired. It's like the bus is driving itself.
We're not investigating internally as
Like
deep
it
as we
happens
should
multiple
be.
times just in the characters we follow. So it has to also
Do
like
you
that
think
poor girl in the wheelchair. She doesn't have a fucking chance.
do you think it's like they have like an in memoriam section at the end of the
Yeah.
yearbook? And it was like the wheels on the bus go round and round, but
That's
their
the
short
moment that they
lives do
just
not.
like missed when we enter into the senior fling or whatever dance as Damien just did a number and they showed them in black and white on the wall, everyone that we lost. Just not even in the year, just in the term, the little quarter,
this
the high
this
school quarter.
semester. Oh, that's great. Did you have anything
Um,
else?
yes, thank you. Um, Um, I also had because I mean it's an obvious one and Paramount Plus, if you do it, let me know. Um, Mean Girls the musical, the series. It's the high school that Mean Girl was filmed at. They're finally doing the Mean Girls the musical, and we follow their docu-series story. Just like High School Musical, the series. I mean, it's been done, it's been successful. Bring Olivia Rodrigo in. Why not?
I love it.
And then they can have a little TikTok where they're like, guess our Regina or whatever. It's already written for them. I don't understand. And then finally, what I really liked about this is how short it was. Like, I miss when movies were an hour and a half.
Mhm.
So I wanted to see, not that I want to see it because I don't have enough of attention span, but maybe someone wants to see Christopher Nolan's Mean Girls. Um, and it's like we also have these random backstories that are very much not needed. I did see 2 hours of Oppenheimer, and it was 2 hours too much in my opinion. And so just like random backstories that like don't fully go in. So like Gretchen Wiener is like, my father, the inventor of toaster strudel, and then we go into a black and white of her father inventing toaster strudel. And that's how we lengthen the movie a little bit.
Wait,
Um,
I love it. It should be like not only it's like her father coming up with the idea of toaster strudel, while in a competing state, another person coming up with the idea for Pop-Tarts.
yeah,
And it's a race to the finish line.
exactly. It becomes a biopic.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
So I think that would be fun. Um, we see all of like the characters' backgrounds more than we need to. We see Regina's parents not sleeping in the same bed anymore. We see the Hanukkah hoop earrings being gifted. We
Wait,
really
I
don't
like
believe it.
actually want Christopher Nolan to take on this. I know you're being like facetious because he did not like Oppenheimer, but
And
I
Regina
want
is
this.
played by Cillian Murphy in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yes.
Because if you have, he was in Dunkirk, he was in this. I don't remember what if he was in other ones, but if you have, a formula that works, I
I
just
love
like the
it.
idea of Cillian Murphy. My name is Regina George. I think it would be good.
He can do it. I love it.
Yeah, I do just want to say that I looked into Lindsay Lohan's background, and did you know that her father was a Wall Street trader who's been to like had a lot of run-ins with the law because
Oh,
he's like a lot of like domestic abuse and a bunch of other stuff like he like insider trading and stuff like that. And her mother was a singer and dancer, and her great grandfather was a co-founder of the pro-life party in Long Island.
wow. Lindsay's
Yes.
coming from an interesting background.
Yes.
Not to
That's all I
mention
have.
her twin sister.
I know. What the fuck happened to her?
They don't talk about her. She's no longer an
She's
actor.
still in Africa.
They left her behind. Yeah, a Parent Trap, a
Mhm.
crossover with Mean Girls.
That would be fun.
Yeah. All right, let's move into what we've been watching. I've actually been watching a crap ton of movies.
You have.
Um, and I've been trying to document them in Letterboxd so that it's easier for me to look back. But I saw starting off this like Christmas break was basically me just watching all the movies that I didn't have time to watch for our 2023 recap. But I did see The Holdovers, which is a Christmas movie, but I feel like you could watch it outside of Christmas and still find it very interesting. And I really loved The Holdovers. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Would highly recommend. It follows basically the story. First of all, was it actually shot like on film? It feels like they actually used like 70 millimeter or whatever it is that makes it feel like an actual 70s film. But it definitely had the vibes of 70s film. And I feel like the casting choices were really great. They looked like kids from the 70s. Like they did not have iPhone face. They had like, I don't know, marijuana is just being introduced and I have long curly hair face. So they like the casting was great, the story was great. And it follows the story of these like kids at a boarding school, and basically the holdovers are the kids that are like left behind on Christmas break. And most of the kids get to like go off on this ski trip once one of the kids' dads like comes and gets him. And this is a boarding school where like most of the kids are super rich, but this one kid gets left behind. and it follows like his professor and one of the like cooks at the school, the like head chef is also there, and it kind of follows her like unlikely friendship and the bonds that they make over the course of this like 2-week winter break. And it was just so good. It had so many good parts, like so cozy, so sweet and like touching in these just great ways. I feel like you would really like it, Marriya. If you like Dead Poet Society, I feel like you would like this. Oh, then I saw the Genie with Melissa McCarthy, which was absolutely awful. I just no longer can take any sort of TikTok movie recommendations because I'm not following the right people. I'm following people with horrific taste because like I watched another movie that someone said to watch during Thanksgiving with your family, and that one was awful, and then someone was like, "The Genie is great, like, it's such a sweet, like, heartfelt, one of my favorite new Christmas movies," and I watched it, and it was absolutely horrible to the point where I'm like, "Who is holding a gun to Melissa McCarthy's head and getting her to make these movies?" She has had, like, flop after flop after flop for the last, like, 5
Mm.
years, and I feel like the, like, 7 years prior to that, she was making just, like, hit after hit of, like, the funniest, never, like, critically acclaimed, but, like, I'm peeing my pants, it's so funny movies, and now it's just like, I need to call someone, like, something's not right, so gave that 2 stars. Then I saw The Family Switch, which I think is a Netflix original with,
Oh, yeah.
with, Jennifer Garner and, Ed Helms, and
Mhm.
it was actually really, really cute. I really liked it, and
Was
I
it
think
like Freaky Friday? Was it?
yes, it was exactly like Freaky Friday, where the family members go to this, like, observatory, and there's, like, some big celestial moment, but they also kind of meet, like, a witch who, like, she, like, has a van, and she, like, does tarot readings and stuff, and she, like, warns them that they need to, like, start, like, thinking of, like, what matters most, and then once this, like, celestial moment happens, like, they all switch bodies. But I thought the absolute funniest part of that was that there's, like, a little baby, and then they have, like, a little dog, I think it's a pug, and the little baby and the pug switch bodies too, and then they have, like, a next door neighbor who's taking care who's, like, a dog trainer, I think, and he, like, takes care of the baby, babysits all the time, but also is, like, constantly telling them that they need to discipline their dog better, and his moments were, like, the funniest. He was, like, holding the baby and holding the dog, like, rocking them, and they've, like, switched places, so, like, the dog has, like, its paw in its mouth and is sucking his thumb, and the baby's, like, scratching his leg, and he's like, It's no wonder you are confused, like, you've been spending too much time with each other." So I would highly recommend that. It's not, like, not just, a Christmas movie either. It's, like, one that you could watch outside of Christmas. It has, like, vague Christmas themes in the background. So that's great. Jennifer Garner is beautiful, and I love her. Then I saw Oppenheimer, which I gave 5 stars, like, best watch of the year. I really, really liked it. But I feel like I like, drawn out. Like, I feel like all my top movies are 2-hour plus. Like, if you're in the 3-hour range, there's, like, an 80% chance that I will love love your work. So, I really liked Oppenheimer. I love movies like that. I got to watch it, like, on my parents', like, huge screen TV, so that was, like, it felt like I was almost in the movie theaters. And I just really like it. Everyone knows what it is. I wanted to see it back when Barbenheimer was going on, but I ran out of time to see it in the theater, so I was happy I got to watch it over my break. Then another big one of the year was Killers of the Flower Moon. I gave that one 4 stars, so slightly less than Oppenheimer. Also really loved it. I think Lily Gladstone just won the Golden Globes. Was it for Best Actress? I
I
think
did
she
not
won a
watch
Golden
it, but
Globe.
yay!
She won a Golden Globe, and I knew she was going to. She had like such a strong performance opposite Leo, who is also obviously a great actor, and she definitely held her own. Obviously like a sad movie. So don't watch it if you're not in the mood to be like sad and a little upset with like justice. They kind of get some justice in the end, but also not really. But yeah, I really liked that one. Then I watched like not a new movie, a 2020 movie, Love and Monsters, which is kind of random. It was just something that like popped up It has Dylan O'Brien as the main character. And it was actually like a really good movie. I love to like throw in apocalypse watches here and there and monster flicks. So two of my favorite genres. And it was actually like pretty good. I gave it, I think, like 3 out of 5 stars. Then I rewatched Spotlight. I was just like craving watching it. I think I had been talking about like Mark Ruffalo with my family. And I was like, well, you know what Mark Ruffalo's like best performance was like Spotlight 2015. And Spotlight, of course, like won a ton of awards like that year as well. And it's like I don't want to be a reporter, but then I watch Spotlight and I'm like, should I become an investigative journalist? I'm like, I think it's in me.
Why are journalist movies are so good?
They are so good at convincing you.
Like The Post was really good as well.
Yeah. They are
anything where they're like deep investigation and then they're like, we got him.
Yep. Like it's one of the few ones where like I don't think I could watch like maybe I could watch like a movie about like I don't know, a deep sea fisherman and be like, that's for me. But I feel like the investigative journalism ones, they just hit hard. And it was really good on my I think it was only my second time rewatching it, but just as good as I remembered. Love that movie. Love Mark Ruffalo's performance in that. Rachel McAdams again. So a little bit of crossover there.
She has so much range.
She does. She's an amazing actress. I love her. And then sticking on the Mark Ruffalo trend, then I watched 13 Going on 30, which I had never seen before. It was a first time watch. I honestly think we should do a pod episode on it because it's going to be the 20th anniversary of 13 Going on 30 as well. 2004 was a big year for movies. So I watched that and I loved it. It was so sweet. I just love like their little dream house in the end. And I was like getting nervous. I was like, oh my God. Like, even though I know that this is like a simple rom-com and like, of course she's going to get to turn back time. But I was like, what if like they just didn't have that plot point and it actually becomes like a M. Night Shyamalan like old horror scenario where she's lost like 17 years of her life. She's lost and it's like she has amnesia and then she just has to carry on being like a 13-year-old in a 30 plus year woman's body. So yeah, it could have turned into horror, but of course it did not. It went the predictable route.
For the remakes.
Yeah, so we should maybe just do an entire episode on it, but I really loved it. Mark Ruffalo was like the hottest he's ever looked. I'm so sad that I missed out on Mark in his like golden days.
I think that was the start of like friend to lover, like the real, I don't know.
that was his moment.
She really played the long game. I mean, she did have to get like, you know, she didn't go in there with like, she had to do the research first that he would become hot. I'm sure there were some moments where she was with Maddie as a child and she's like, remember the abs, remember what he looked like.
I know. I was thinking that too. I was like, damn, you know, I wish we had the foresight to be able to look into the future and see what our partner is going to look like, but we don't all have that life-changing opportunity. And then lastly, I watched 10 Things I Hate About You, which I had also never seen. I knew that it was, you know, based on Taming of the Shrew, which I had read in high school. And there's like a moment where, like right at the beginning, one of the characters, he's like it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character. He's not like the main love interest, which is played by Heath Ledger. He's like the secondary love interest, for Bianca, the other sister. And like approximately 6 minutes into the movie, he goes like, I burn, I pine, I yearn for her. Like he says something Shakespearean and it turned me off so much. I was like, absolutely not. I turned off the movie. And then that was like a year ago. And then my roommate was like, no, it's like one of my favorite rom-coms. Like you have to give it another chance. And I was like, they don't talk like this the whole time though. Cause I was like, I know that this is inspired by Shakespeare, but like I personally cannot do like the modernized version of Shakespeare, but they say the word dude. Like I can't do it. So I was like, are you sure that this was like the only instance? And she was like, yes. So then I had to carry on. I thought it was cute. It wasn't my favorite though, especially when I compared it to 13 Going on 30. So that, and then also just an update, I have been finishing up the Last of Us series. So I have one more episode to go, but love it. I love apocalypse shows. Also love Pedro Pascal. I can't remember the actress's name that plays Ellie, but I honestly think she's doing a fantastic job too. I know there was like controversy around her casting because I think she like didn't look exactly like the video game character, or I don't know, people were having some sort of reservations about her, but I think she did a fantastic job. Of course, I did not play the video game, so I can't tell how true to life she is, but really like it, and I'm excited to finish off the series. Oh, and then started Percy Jackson as well. And I started the Percy Jackson Audible book. So I'm doing like multiple mediums for Percy Jackson as well, which I think we're going to touch on in our next episode. But yeah, Marriya, what have you been watching? That's the first time I've had like a significant chunk.
I haven't watched all that much. So in comparison, I mean, like I saw White Christmas with my family. That's what we watch every Christmas Eve. Which it's I don't know. It's a very hand-oriented film. Like if you watch it, like it seems like no one knows what to do with their hands like the entire time. And so I only really watch for the hands, and I think that's really fun. I also saw A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong, which is from Mischief Theater Company, which is like the company that does like the play that goes wrong. They do like Peter Pan Goes Wrong, so they did a Christmas Carol version. So that was fun. It was not necessarily like my favorite one that they've done. They have a like the play that goes wrong, like the TV show, and I think that's probably my favorite other than the play. This one was like a little bit repetitive and stuff like that. But it wasn't bad. And then I saw 2 hours of Oppenheimer. Um, I don't know. It's like, I don't know how many men are too many men, but that was too many men. It was just like, and it was just like the randomest men as well. And I think maybe that was like, I was just like shocked to see like Bernard the elf
Yeah.
from Santa Claus, and like, oh my gosh, is that Josh from Drake and Josh? And Rami Malek pops up and stuff. And it's just like a little bit distracting, and it was just so many characters that I couldn't keep track of, and I was very tired. And I fell asleep, and then the bomb went off and it scared the shit out of me, and it was just like a bad experience where like it was like our New Year's Eve movie. So that was like the big movie that we were all going to watch together. And I was like, I just grabbed a piece of cheese and I was working on a piece of cheese for like an hour. So at least I had something to do um, while we were watching this movie. Just wasn't my favorite. And we go so like switch back and forth in time. And I just like couldn't keep up with like who everyone was and what we were doing. The only part that I really felt like, okay, I'm like here and I understand what's happening was like Florence Pugh's character dying. And then my dad was like, they made it really unclear. Like, did she commit suicide or was she murdered? And I was like, I thought I understood one thing in this movie and I did not.
Wait,
So
I'm
I saw,
sorry. One piece of cheese lasted you an hour? What were you doing to that
I was
piece of
just gnawing
cheese?
at it to try to keep myself awake.
You have to give me like size dimensions. How big of a piece of cheese?
Like that big.
That's like a one biter for me. You don't take your cheese
Well,
eating
that's why I was
seriously.
gnawing at it.
Was it like a rind? Like a Parmesan rind?
No, no, it was just
Oh
like a
my God.
slice.
You need to
Just
step up
trying
your
to
game.
just trying to get going. And yeah, did you know that with Cillian Murphy, he had a band in his late teens and early 20s. Um, and their name was the Sons of Mr. Green Jeans,
Hmm.
which wasn't necessary. Um, and then Robert Downey Jr., so for Nepo Baby, Who's Your Daddy World, his father was Robert Downey Sr., so he first started by appearing in his father's films. So, but I don't know, it's hard to think also of like Robert Downey Jr. as like a child actor, especially when you like are first as a child, like associating him with Tony Stark and like Sherlock Holmes and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But he definitely did also have like the child actor situation and also like the mental health and like experiences and sad experiences that come with that, which I think it's sometimes it's hard to think about that and remember that he was going through that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret again with my mom and my sister, which I did like the experience of watching it like with my family because then we were like comparing our period ages and all of that fun stuff. Um, yeah, I didn't remember when I got my period, so that was also good to get that collective knowledge on it. And then we've been watching, my mom and I have been watching like the Percy Jackson new series, which I think is much more accurate than the movies, which is
Mm-hmm.
just fucking awful. And I feel like they also are like maybe following like chapter by chapter, or at least like maybe like
They
two
are.
chapters per episode, because like it's definitely like the same episode titles as chapter titles, which
Yeah.
I like because it's like not too much that's squished into each episode. I do like, I don't know, I just think it's like super confusing that there hasn't been much like promos on, like I didn't really see anything on Percy Jackson on like any social media site, which I think is like kind of crazy because it was like on the same level as like Hunger Games, Harry Potter, all of that kind of stuff back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely still marketed to the people who loved Percy Jackson growing up. It's like a major franchise. They're still coming out with books. They have a bunch of spin-offs. And so the fact that there's like no information on it, and then I was like looking at like Hot Topic and like Box Lunch, and they have like no merch either. And like the Disney store has no merch. And like it's like Wonka, like the movie Wonka, like they had a whole like crumble cookie that had like a W on it. And it's like, why aren't we doing
A
like
lightning bolt.
blue cookie like collabs that crumble? Why are we not having like a makeup palette based on your godly parent? Like like where is all of like the buzz? Because like there are
Yeah.
people who are willing to buy that merch, especially because so the original fans, then there's also a Lightning Thief, the musical, and you know, all of the new fans, all like there's like a huge fandom platform, and I feel like they're not using them at all, which I think is just absolutely baffling.
Well, I think that like Disney purposely does not market the stuff that it doesn't
Mm.
want to renew. Like I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, you say all that and I was like now really getting into Percy Jackson for the first time because I never read the series growing up, but I really liked the couple of episodes that have been released so far from Disney. And so then I jumped in with the audiobook because I had like 11 free credits on Audible. I was like, let's take a little look and see what the how the book compares to the series. And I was like, you know what? Like now I'm getting like emotionally attached to this. And I was like, exactly like you said, I feel like I have not seen this advertised anywhere. And I would not have even known that it came out unless you told me like the new Percy Jackson series is out. And I feel like that's like a little bit foreboding of an imminent cancellation. Like I
But
feel
it's
like
like
we
such a big thing. And I'm seeing
yeah.
like fandom like conversation about it, like especially like on like X or Twitter or whatever, where like people are watching the episodes and giving their commentary and stuff. So I'm like, does Disney just like not know their audience? Or like what's going on? Like at least do a line of Camp Half-Blood t-shirts. Like literally the
Like
bare
throw
minimum. You
us a
have the
bone.
design.
Marriya, where can they find you and where can they find the pod?
They can find me at Marriya Schwarz on all social media and at Remake Hot Take on all social media. Where can they find you, Brooke?
They can find me at B_ReeseCap on Instagram.
That's
Thank
so fetch.
Thanks so much for watching, guys.
Ooh.
We hope that high school was better for you. Let us know if your high school was better or worse than Mean Girls.
Yay.
Yay! Bye.
Bye.